The air in London crackles with a tension thicker than the city smog. It's not just the perpetual drizzle or the overcrowded tube, it's something far more profound, a seismic shift rumbling beneath the surface of British society. The monarchy, that ancient and often debated institution, is facing a challenge unlike anything seen in decades. And at the heart of it all, two figures stand locked in a battle for the very soul of London, King Charles III and Mayor Sadiq Khan. Forget the carefully orchestrated photo ops and the polite pronouncements from the palace. This is a bare-knuckle brawl, a clash of ideologies that has the potential to redefine the relationship between the crown and the elected officials of the land. And it all started with a seemingly innocuous policy, the London Citizenship Charter. Khan's vision, at least on the surface, seemed noble enough, a pledge for businesses to embrace diversity or face hefty fines, a way, he argued, to drag London kicking and screaming into the 21st century. But beneath the veneer of progressive idealism lurked something far more divisive, a policy that many saw as an overreach of mayoral power, a threat to the very fabric of British tradition. King Charles, a monarch known for his measured pronouncements and his commitment to apolitical neutrality, broke with centuries of precedent. He invoked a rarely used power, a constitutional mechanism known as crown intervention, effectively putting Khan's charter on ice. It was a move that sent shockwaves through Westminster, a declaration of war from the palace that no one saw coming. The response was immediate and explosive. Khan, a man known for his controlled demeanour, unleashed a tirade that stunned even his most ardent supporters. In a hastily arranged press conference outside City Hall, his voice trembling with barely contained rage, he accused the king of betraying the will of Londoners, of clinging to outdated traditions in a city that was rapidly evolving. His words were a lightning rod, igniting a firestorm of debate across the nation. Was Khan a champion of the people, bravely standing up to an unelected elite? Or was he a reckless demagogue, willing to tear down the foundations of British society for his own political gain? The truth, as always, is far more complex. Khan's actions, while seemingly spontaneous, may have been part of a carefully orchestrated strategy. Leaked documents, now circulating like wildfire through the media, suggest that his team had been planning a confrontation with the monarchy for months, viewing the crown as the perfect villain to galvanize his progressive base. If true, this would be a betrayal of epic proportions, a cynical manipulation of the monarchy for personal political gain. It would paint Khan not as a defender of democracy, but as a calculating opportunist willing to exploit the deep-seated tensions within British society for his own advancement. But King Charles is no passive bystander in this drama. He's a man deeply invested in the future of his country, a monarch who has witnessed firsthand the erosion of traditional values in a rapidly changing world. His decision to intervene, while controversial, may have been driven by a genuine concern for the well-being of Londoners, a desire to protect them from what he sees as the excesses of progressive ideology. His response to Khan's outburst was equally unexpected. Instead of issuing a carefully worded statement through palace officials, he delivered a powerful and pointed speech at a royal reception, a speech that constitutional scholars are calling the most politically charged by a British monarch in 70 years. He spoke of the traditions that bind the nation together, traditions that cannot be discarded by those who mistake temporary power for permanent authority. He declared that London belongs to all Britons, not to the ideological whims of any single mayor. The room fell silent. Diplomats exchanged stunned glances, and the battle lines were drawn. The fallout has been biblical. Khan's team, once a tightly knit unit, is now a viper's nest of paranoia and backstabbing. Loyalty means nothing when survival is on the line. The leaked documents, if authenticated, are the smoking gun that could end his career. The email that chillingly declared, "We need a villain, the crown is perfect," is the kind of quote that buries political aspirations 6 feet under. Think about the implications. If Khan deliberately manufactured this crisis, he gambled and lost. He underestimated the deep-seated respect, even reverence, that many Britons still hold for the monarchy. He miscalculated the public's appetite for radical change, especially when that change is perceived as an attack on the very foundations of British identity. The story of James Morrison, the Falklands veteran evicted from his home, is the human cost of Khan's policies. A man who sacrificed for his country, now sleeping in his daughter's spare room, while City Hall spends lavishly on diversity consultants and luxury spa retreats. The optics are devastating. The contrast is grotesque. It's a narrative that resonates with ordinary Londoners who feel forgotten, ignored, and betrayed by their elected officials. The conservative opposition, smelling blood in the water, is circling with ruthless efficiency. Kem Benedoc's carefully crafted condemnation of Khan sounded less like criticism and more like a victory speech. She rattled off statistics that painted a grim picture of London under Khan's leadership: soaring crime rates, unaffordable housing, and businesses fleeing the capital. These are not just numbers. They are the lived realities of millions of Londoners struggling to make ends meet. The polls tell a story of utter collapse. Khan's support has cratered, even among his traditional base. The younger, progressive voters, once his most reliable allies, are now questioning his leadership. The shift is seismic. For the first time in years, the Conservatives are within striking distance of winning London, a prospect that seemed unthinkable just weeks ago. The next 72 hours are a gauntlet of political peril for Khan. The vote of no confidence looms like a hangman's noose. The emergency parliamentary debate promises a brutal interrogation of his mayoral authority, and the mass protests planned for Saturday could bring the city to a standstill, a visual representation of the deep divisions that Khan's policies have unleashed. But beyond the political maneuvering and the media frenzy, there's a deeper question at stake. What kind of city does London want to be? A city that embraces its traditions and heritage, or a city that relentlessly pursues a radical vision of social justice, even at the cost of its own identity? This is not just a battle between a mayor and a king. It's a battle for the soul of London, a battle that will determine the future of Britain itself. Monday arrived with the weight of 1,000 years of British history. The corridors of City Hall felt less like seats of power and more like mausoleums, the air thick with dread. Khan, a shadow of his former self, navigated the maze of hallways, his face etched with fatigue. The vote of no confidence loomed, a Damoclean sword hanging precariously above his head. The council chamber was packed, every seat filled with anxious faces. The atmosphere was electric, a palpable sense of anticipation hanging in the air. Khan stood before his colleagues, the very people who had once cheered his every move, now poised to deliver the ultimate political blow. His speech was a desperate plea, a last-ditch attempt to salvage his sinking ship. He spoke of his vision for London, a city of inclusivity and opportunity. He defended his policies, arguing that they were necessary to address the deep-seated inequalities that plagued the capital. But his words rang hollow, failing to resonate with a council that had already made up its mind. The vote was swift and brutal. The numbers flashed on the screen, a damning indictment of Khan's leadership. The noes echoed through the chamber, a chorus of disapproval that sealed his fate. He had lost the confidence of his own party, the very foundation upon which his power rested. Thursday's parliamentary debate was a spectacle of political theater. Conservative MPs, sensing victory, tore into Khan with savage glee. They accused him of abusing his power, of dividing the city, of attacking the monarchy. They demanded a formal investigation into his conduct, a move that could lead to criminal charges. Khan sat silently, absorbing the onslaught. He was a pariah, a man ostracized by his own party and vilified by his opponents. His political career, once so promising, was now in ruins. Saturday dawned gray and ominous, mirroring the mood of the city. The planned protests were massive, drawing tens of thousands of royalists into central London. Union Jacks waved proudly, a sea of red, white, and blue engulfing Trafalgar Square. The chants were deafening, a unified chorus demanding Khan's resignation. Counter-protesters, organized by Khan's remaining supporters, clashed with the royalists, turning the streets of London into a battleground. Mounted police struggled to maintain order, the air thick with tear gas and the sounds of sirens. The city was teetering on the brink of chaos, a stark reminder of the deep divisions that Khan's policies had unleashed. As darkness fell, the mood shifted. A sense of inevitability washed over the city. Khan's resignation, once a distant possibility, now seemed inevitable. The pressure was too great, the opposition too fierce, the damage too profound. Late that night, a statement was released from City Hall. Sadiq Khan, the once powerful mayor of London, had resigned. His political career, once so bright, had come to an abrupt and ignominious end. The city held its breath, waiting to see what the future held. The constitutional crisis had exposed deep fault lines in British society, fault lines that would take years to heal. The battle for the soul of London was far from over. The question now was, who would pick up the pieces, and could anyone truly unite a city so deeply divided?